Israel-Hamas war enters second stage. Prime Minister Netanyahu says the fighting has entered its second stage, signaling the long-anticipated ground incursion is underway, while warning Israelis to prepare for a long war. Israel's military says ground operations have continued since Friday in northern Gaza, although they appeared to be in a relatively limited capacity. The head of the Red Cross decried the limited humanitarian access to Gaza as a catastrophic failing of the international community as UN officials continue to appeal for a ceasefire. Heavy bombardment continued in Gaza, including in the south where Israel told residents to flee. A near-total communications blackout continues in Gaza, hampering emergency rescue operations. On the Israel-Lebanon border, fighting continued with a shell hitting a UN peacekeeping facility and injuring a peacekeeper. Israel dismisses calls for ceasefire and hostage swap. Jerusalem, as Israeli airstrikes and an intensified ground attack pounded northern Gaza on Saturday, a representative for the families of the hostages held by Hamas told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu they support a prisoner swap. As far as the families are concerned, a deal of a return of our family members immediately in the framework of all for all is feasible, and there will be wide national support for this, said Meirav Gonen, the representative. Her daughter, Romi, is one of the hostages. Israel's government has not yet commented on Hamas's offer to free all the hostages in exchange for Israel releasing all Palestinians held in Israeli jails. It was unclear if Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu discussed the possibility of a prisoner swap during the meeting with the families, or if he specified any military or diplomatic plan to achieve the release of hostages. Israel's military has said it will be able to continue its devastating campaign on Gaza while rescuing the hostages, and has dismissed the possibility of a Hamas-proposed ceasefire deal in exchange for their release. Spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said Saturday that by proposing the ceasefire, Hamas was engaged in a cynical exploitation of their families' anxieties. UN leader renews ceasefire plea, history will judge us all. Cairo, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has reiterated his appeal for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza, the unconditional release of hostages and a delivery of humanitarian aid that strips 2.3 million people. This situation must be reversed, he said Saturday in a statement following his meeting in Doha with Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani. This is the moment of truth. Everyone must assume their responsibilities. History will judge us all. He warned that the ongoing escalation, including relentless Israeli bombardment and a communication blackout, would have devastating impacts and undermine the referred humanitarian objectives. Oman accuses Israel of war crimes, crimes against humanity. Cairo, Oman's foreign ministry says Israel's siege and bombardment of Gaza amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity. The Omani ministry said in a statement that a wide-scale Israeli ground invasion of Gaza would have serious catastrophic consequences on the region and the world, and the prospects of achieving peace and stability. Oman has a long record of serving as a key broker between Iran and the West when regional tensions flare. The ministry called for the international community to immediately intervene to stop the Israel-Hamas war and to speed humanitarian aid deliveries to Gaza. Turkey preparing to declare Israel a war criminal, president says. Istanbul, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan told a mass pro-Palestinian rally in Istanbul on Saturday that his country was making preparations to proclaim Israel a war criminal for its actions in Gaza. In his address to hundreds of thousands of people who joined the rally, Erdogan also held Western countries responsible for the deaths in Gaza for failing to stop Israel's attacks. Israel, we will proclaim you as a war criminal to the world, Erdogan said. We are making our preparations, and we will declare Israel to the world as a war criminal. Erdogan, whose government recently restored full diplomatic ties with Israel, has stepped up his criticism of the country. Earlier this week, he asserted that the Hamas militant group was not a terrorist organization but a liberation group fighting for its lands and people. Participants at the rally waved Turkish and Palestinian flags, chanting, "God is great." Yusuf Islam, the musician formerly known as Cat Stevens, took part in the rally.